So look, if you want to grow your wealth, your income, and increase the amount of time off, then these are the shortcuts that can help. Welcome to the Wealth Creation Podcast. Hi, it's Dan and welcome to the podcast. So in this podcast, I want to talk to you about how I increase my revenues by being absent. And I use the word absent, it's quite funny. I'm now studying Spanish, which I hate, by the way. Me sat in a classroom learning how to speak Spanish is just the most alien thing for me. Makes me feel very uncomfortable. The lady doesn't speak a word of English, and it's just Spanish for 2 solid hours twice a week, and it's driving me absolutely insane. But I use the word absent because my wife's a school teacher, and we were talking about these 2 books that we have to buy, like a Spanish book and then a homework book. And I'm like, oh, well, we can save a bit of money on the homework book because I never do homework. Well, her head exploded, obviously, because she's a school teacher. And I got the lesson about why we should do homework. Obviously, I need to ignore that. But, and she'll get better at Spanish than I will, but that's okay. So how did I increase revenues by being absent? And actually, what do I mean by that? So a couple of things happened. Really. The first one is that we moved from England to Spain, and I'm going to talk about property for now. So our rents went up, and my amount of time that I spent on the property business definitely decreased. So what would happen is, if I was in England and, something had happened and I needed to go up and have a look, I would go up and have a look. And so, you're talking half an hour out, then you go and have a look, and then half an hour back, and before you know it, 2 hours have gone, and then you've got to implement whatever fixes going to be, and you're trying to save money, by not getting a handyman to go out first, let's say. And when you look at this and the number of hours that I was doing per week, it was crazy on a portfolio of this size. It was just crazy. So it was like, why are we doing this? And then quite by accident, really, obviously we moved overseas, and then quite by accident, I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't just go and pop out to go see a property. I'm 1,000 miles away. It takes a day of travelling to get there. It's just not worth it. So my eyes and ears changed from me getting up and going out to either a cleaner stroke admin person, or actually it was about designing a first port of call, which is to the handyman. And on our tenancy agreements, it states, for example, that from time to time stuff will go wrong. Our first port of call is a handyman to diagnose. Then when we diagnose it, we can, if it needs a plumber, if it's a washing machine and it needs an appliance repair or replacement, then we'll organise that. But the first guy that comes out is going to be the handyman. And of course, some tenants complain at that. Well, the washing machine's not working, we should just buy a new one. That's how a lot of tenants seem to think for some reason. And it's like, no, we'll just fix the unit. Not that we're trying to be green. We just don't see the point of spending my money. Tenants are definitely very good at spending my money. Well, if it's not fixed by tomorrow, I'll just go out and buy a new one and I'll deduct it from the rent, is what tenants say. And it's always hilarious when they say that, 'cause I'm like, well, you can do that and you'll find yourself out on your ass because we'll just evict you for not paying rent. We've got a guy coming around to take a look, first fix, and so on. Anyway, the point here is that we increased revenues because a couple of things started to happen. And when I say revenues, I mean profit in this particular instance. So the first thing that started to happen was, I'm a bottleneck, by the way. So when I'm involved in something, this is the bit that you need to remember throughout this entire podcast. When I'm involved in something, there's a good chance that I'm going to stop it from getting resolved in whatever thing needed to be resolved. I am absolutely a bottleneck. I think I'm excellent at everything, but in reality, I'm not, right? It's impossible to be good at everything. I'm good at some things and I'm dreadful at others. Painting a windowsill, I'm dreadful at. My handyman can do it in far less time. I still moan at him about the fact that it takes too long to paint a front room, but, his quality compared with my quality is something to be amazed at. Do you know what I mean? He uses tape for taping round things. I'm just like, bish bosh bash, it's done. What you taping up for? But obviously the quality of my work is far inferior than the quality of his work. And then, well, I'll just paint this lounge, so I'll go do it. It's 7 hours. I'll just paint it. Well, that 7 hours could be better used organising new furniture, or finding a new supplier for furniture, or, ordering gravel for one of our HMOs, because we're going to put gravel down on the front just to make it look a bit nicer. Anything like that, And it's like, this is where your time is taken up. And it's crazy. So, Dan, why don't you just get off it, don't touch it, put the paintbrush down, bugger off, go back to where you live and let me sort it. And so he does. And we've got a couple of handymen there, and they do it so much better than I do it. You know, it's like buy it cheap, buy it twice. I do it, I have to do it twice because it's crap. Whereas the handyman does it, he comes in, he gets it done, and it's done. And so our profits started to increase because I'm no longer the bottleneck because I'm not involved in the property. So now, you know, we have a problem with, I'm trying to think of something we've got a problem with. Let's just say something else with property that's not handyman related. So now, let's say it's move-ins and move-outs. That's a good example. So, like, I don't do viewings anymore. My cleaner does my viewings. She's a cleaner, right? First of all, she's very disarming because everybody knows she's just some little old lady who's doing me a favour, and she's a cleaner. And I tell people that, and they're like, yeah, that's cool. And then, so she's really disarming. It's not like a letting agent in a BMW and slick back hair, you know. So it makes a big difference. And then move-ins, move-outs, doing the admin, getting tenancy agreements signed, handing keys over, all that stuff. It used to be me that used to do all that stuff. And I would be the one meeting the tenant. And, you know, if the tenant wanted something and I was there, I couldn't say, well, I need to ask the boss, because I was the boss and they'd know that. Now, the cleaner says, well, I need to ask him, but I'm not sure. And sometimes the tenants go, first of all, oh, it's fine, just forget it anyway. I'll take it. Great. Or then, you know, when the cleaner then asks me, Dan, they've asked for this, and I go, no, that's fine. It's nice and easy. They just go, okay. And it just makes life so much easier. And it's not me now doing move-ins and move-outs and getting tenancy agreements signed and all this extra stuff that I used to do when I lived in the UK. So what about in my other business, on the digital marketing stuff? Well, my revenues have definitely increased because, first of all, I can't now go and speak at events. And you might go, well, that's a downside. And it is, except the hour it takes me to get there and the hour on stage and the hour it takes me to come home, in those 3 hours, you know, what a podcast, 20 minutes each? There's 9 podcasts right there. And actually, I'm not saying that I sit down and do 9 hours of podcasts one after another, because I definitely don't. But I can do 2 podcasts in a row. And then we can get ahead of the game, so we're putting them out 3 times a week. And that's actually our sweet spot, is 3 times a week. We're trying 5 times a week, 7 times a week. It's just too much. And we get behind, and then we have gaps. Whereas 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, podcast every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday, it works really well. That's our sweet spot in terms of content creation and so on. Gary V can do it every day because he's speaking on a different stage every day. And, you know, he's got 2 podcasts there. So he's got the podcast of him going from A to B and traveling and, you know, little snippets that he talks about. Then he goes and speaks on stage. That's the second podcast. Then he goes into his office and he'll speak to someone. They record that. That's a podcast. He'll have another hour. He'll speak to someone else, record it. That's another podcast. Gets everyone to sign off on it, you know, the release form, so you can actually do that. Now, Gary V's suddenly got 5 podcasts recorded in a day. We're definitely not at that level. But also for me, I was going an hour in the car, speaking on stage, and an hour back. Yeah, I could record the bit on stage and use that as a podcast. But actually, it just makes better sense for me to create more content sat here in my home studio, like I'm doing right now, for example. So then we're starting to increase the level of content. Then we've got greater control over what content goes out when, because I'm not as busy driving around going to do all these different things. I love the idea of sitting in the back of a car, by the way, while you have a driver. And if you're driving everywhere, don't get me wrong, I like driving too. But actually, if you're being driven everywhere, you've got a lot more time. You know, if it takes you half an hour to get somewhere and half an hour back, that's an extra hour a day. Imagine if you had a driver to take you to work and you spent an hour going to work and an hour back. Yeah, of course, it's £10 an hour, you know, it's 20 quid right there. But you just saved yourself 2 hours that you can create content every day. I mean, that is phenomenal, right? So suddenly, from you moving off doing the things that everybody else does, hence why everybody else is poor, you know, that not me, I like to drive to work. Well, you drive to work, but you're missing out, you know, an hour to 2 hours of content creation every single day, or an hour or 2 of business management every single day, or team management every single day, or conference calls every single day, etc., etc. So the idea here is that once I'm out of the business, I'll give you another example. So we're just taking on a new content coordinator. He's the person that
deals with all the teams that we have, and then deals with the end user to make sure that we're producing the right types of content, and they having ideas to the types of content. It's like a coaching call every 2 weeks. So we're just recruiting one of those, and I find that suddenly I'm now bringing on this content coordinator. I'm like, oh, so stop this. I shouldn't be even going anywhere near the content coordinators. That's a delivery thing. That's not my job. My job is in attraction, creating content to put out onto Facebook and LinkedIn so people listen to me, like to hear the sound of my voice, then sign up as clients doing something or other somewhere down the line. That's what I should be doing. I shouldn't be anywhere near the delivery mechanism. But most small business owners were so anal on making sure that every little thing, all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed, and nobody can do it as well as I can do it. And that might be true, but that's the thing that's going to keep you poor. And so this is how I've increased revenues, by being absent. I'm absent from the delivery. I have no idea what's going out on content. I see some of it every so often because I always like the page of the client, and my feed amazes me on Facebook. I'm like, oh, that's one of our clients. That's one of our clients. Oh, that's a good piece of content. Oh, look, it's one of our clients. I like that image. That's one of ours as well. I love that. And then I see the back end coming in, sold more books again this month than I did last month. We've sold out on one of our events. I'm being flown by a client because they saw one of my videos and got the whole office to watch it. And now we're doing, 1 minute, 7 times 1 minute sessions during the day, kind of a life in the day of, and we create all that content for them. So I get to see the end result. I get to see all this content going out, but I'm not involved with videos and digital images and content schedulers and all of that kind of thing, and the copy and the hashtags. And we've got a whole department that's lined up for that. And they're very good at that. And the more experience they get, the better they get, and the better all our clients. When we learn something new, the most latest gadget or the latest technique or thing to do, that goes out instantly to all our clients. We don't wait 6 months to then start implementing stuff, because we know that we can get instant results from implementing it straight away. So why wait? And so me being absent from the delivery side of things, and actually we're at the point now where I need to be absent from the sales side of things as well. My real focus really should be on content and creating as much content as we can. It shouldn't be about delivery or sales or all that stuff, because again, there's some stuff I'm really good at and there's some stuff I'm really not good at. Like, I can do podcasts all day long. I can speak to people all day long. I can generate leads all day long. And sales as well. I'm pretty good at sales, but not necessarily the best use of my time when I can recruit someone else to close far more business than I can because I'm busy doing my own stuff. And so this is how we increase revenues, by being absent. But most people listening to this, you've got to do everything. You've got to stick the brush up your bum and sweep up while you're doing the podcast, and you're emptying the bins, and you're cleaning the printer and changing the toner, and you're speaking with clients on the phone, delivering the product, and then you're answering the phone as well. And it's crazy. I don't know how people do it. And, well, they just don't. They stay where they are for the next 20 years. Instead, you've got to start outsourcing some of the stuff, and some of the stuff that should be outsourced is you. The stuff that you do on a day-to-day basis. And I know that sounds weird, but you've got to stop doing the stuff and bring somebody else on board so that they can do it better than you can do it, because they're solely focused on that. That's what the last podcast was about, about you creating content. We can create content better than you can, because we create content every single day for our clients. We've got thousands of pieces of content going out every single month. So do you think with that much content, we might know a thing or two more than you do about content? Generally, yes, unless you're a content person. But even then, content people should be outsourcing the content. So you're not having to be there and create the videos yourself. We should be doing it. So you've got to start looking at how you can be absent in your business, so that now you're starting to work on the mind in the business, and you're starting to think about what does the flow process look like for bringing a client on board. And let's get that written up into a document so that we can record it, so we can share it. Let's create some videos. And Graham, our head content coordinator, is now creating videos to bring on more content coordinators. So he only has to do that once. And we go, right, watch these videos. Now we've got a whole training program being built for bringing on new members of the team. That's how it should work. And that's why you've got to be absent from your business. Okay, I hope that's useful for you. We'll catch up with you in the next podcast. My name's Dan Latto. Take care.
Hey, it's Dan here. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate each and every one of you. Please click like or subscribe to the entire podcast.